Hiya, I'm Jasper, and welcome to your video review for Kabzaa. It's an Indian movie starring people I don't know and probably never will. So, as always, I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the furry. To start with the furry, there isn't any. Moving on to this movie. So, I saw a trailer for this movie, and it looked like it might be good, so I decided to go see this movie. And I wanted to see it because, it seems like with a lot of the Indian movies, they come out in multiple different languages roughly at the same time. And I wanted to see this one in its native language because I don't like the dubbing effect. Like, I had to watch RRR with the wrong language, so, like, the English stuff was dubbed over with English, but so was the non-English. Anyway, I don't like dubbed. I like subtitled. So I went and saw this one with the intention of seeing the subtitled version of the original language. Well, I'm fairly certain that based on what I saw, that I don't think they had a single microphone hooked up the entire time they were shooting this whole movie, because the entire movie was dubbed over. Yes, it was the language that their lips were speaking, but there was no difference in the audio. So when somebody's really close to the camera versus really far away from the camera, there is a difference in how the audio should sound. And in this case, with this movie, everyone was just speaking directly into a microphone that was positioned directly in front of the speakers that were going on. So there was no variance whatsoever. And then on top of that, basically the entire movie has, like, I don't know, guitar riffs, just like super hardcore, like da 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 da, like just rocking high tempo, like trying to get your blood pumping music. And that's all well and good for a while, but at some point we do need to have, like, a little break, just a little break, and have some silence, have some dialogue without constant music going over the top of that. And that was not the case with this movie. In fact, the only time that there was breaks from the sound and from the music, it seemed like, was when it suddenly cut out. It seemed like this might have been some type of weird mini-series at some point that they just were like, yeah, let's cut that together and make a movie and leave room for fucking commercial breaks or something. I don't know, because it would be what felt like in the middle of a riff of a song with action going, and then it would just cut to black for, like, it was probably just like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, but it felt really long because you have just cut to black in the middle of a tune with action type things going on, and then you come back and you're like, and there was even one point where they repeated the last couple of seconds that you'd seen on screen earlier. It's like, but why? I just saw that before you cut to black for no reason. And speaking of things like that, yes, it was subtitled. Yes, it was ADR'd. So, the lip movements mostly match, but, like, there was no sound effects that were accurate. They really needed to hire some type of sound mixer and sound person to make things the correct distance and the correct sound, because there was just almost no sound. There was almost no sound effects, and it was just so distracting. And then the, like, super high tempo all the time music. But the other thing is that, yes, there were subtitles, but I think that they needed to work a little bit longer on localization, because there were so many, like, grammatically incorrect phrasings, and then just also, like, I'm not Indian, I'm not from India, so the phrasing that they used, I'm assuming, made more sense in India in a way that, like, how their sentences are structured. But that's not how English works, and it just the added floweriness and how they rearrange things just made it so clunky. So you're already translating things from a foreign language, add, like, contextuals, make it so that it makes sense for the American audience that you are trying to, have go see your movie. So it just didn't have it. And on top of the grammar being bad and things not making as much sense, there's even misspellings. There's misspellings. Like, not even just like, oh, we're going to have color with the O-U-R. No, there was, like, extra letters in words that did not need them. So that was disappointing to see. And then the plot was confusing as hell. Like, maybe if I knew more about the history of India, I don't. Sorry, I just don't. Not going to look it up. This movie needs to stand on its own, and it doesn't. The first like 5 minutes, okay, it was probably only more like 3 minutes, but like the first 3 minutes was just like special thanks to this person, special thanks and appreciation of this, and like and digital artists. Like it was the end credit sequence, but at the beginning. But there was nothing going on. It was just black with white text with the occasional like logo of whatever like VFX studio they were thanking, and there was no audio, no music, nothing. And that's just a long, long time to start your movie like that. Especially because you do have they still had the credits at the end. It was very confusing as to why they would decide to do that. But there was no decent storyline here. Yeah, I was very confused as to who was what and what was going on half the time. And it wasn't until like, I don't know, hour and a half in that I was like, oh, this is Scarface. They're trying to make Scarface with this guy, but in a way that doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, I don't understand how they went here. Like, they started off with some random dude who's not terribly buff looking or terribly intimidating, and he like smacks like a prisoner in front of a bunch of other prisoners, and then suddenly all the prisoners are afraid of him, and I didn't feel the justification of those little bitches being bitches because that guy smacked one of them. Like, I wasn't buying it at all. Like, they're like, oh, we're all hardcore criminals, and then you smack one of us, and we're all scared of you now. Yeah. Like, no, fuck off. So that was dumb. And then there was this whole thing where, like, now we get this, like, oh, dialogue with his mother and brother and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know. It was weird. And again, this is more of a cultural thing, but it was weird that, like, the mother was feeding her, I don't know, like, teenage boys, like, with her hand in their face. Like, they have arms and hands. They can feed themselves. It's possible. I don't know. It's like, just reminded me of, like, those people that, like, breastfeed their 4-year-old or whatever. It's weird. So that was weird. And then they're pretty husky, and they're like, and they bring attention to, like, oh, Mom, I'm hungry. Like, are you though? Are you really? Maybe. So, and then, like, that, whatever for all that stuff. But the fights were just terrible. It's like there was a guy who just, like, you know what? No, it's like there was a monkey. It's like there was a monkey in the back who just, like, half of the keys on a keyboard were the slow-mo key. And the monkey is just blah, 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 blah. And, like, every once in a while would hit the slow-mo key and just hold it and just dink, dink, dink. Because the slow-mo didn't make any sense. This movie would have been a quarter shorter had they not had so much slow-mo. Don't get me wrong, I like me a good slow-mo. I went and saw Transformers again because I wanted to see the slow-mo in that movie. But the slow-mo here didn't make any sense for where they had it. It wasn't when there was like the big hit. Like, if you want a good example of slow-mo, either the Transformers movie, not a great example of like story or whatever, but whatever. Slow-mo, good use of it there. Or 300. That was a good use of slow-mo. It was just most random times for the random amount of time, and each little thing, it didn't make any sense, and there was so much of it. It was so distracting and terrible. And the fight scenes, aside from the slow-mo, was just like this one guy, and then like some random person would come up like into the screen, and then he would like punch him away, and you know, every once in a while they'd do the physics defying, like, like flipping away. And what I didn't understand, like, at first I was like, okay, this is a revenge movie, this is like a good movie for, like, this is a good guy who's forced to do bad things, and he's gonna, like, just go on a revenge spree. But, so he starts off by killing the bad guys who killed his brother, and then he just kept killing people and somehow became a mafia boss? Like, I'm not a mafia boss, and maybe I just don't understand the mafia, but I feel like there's other steps involved rather than just, like, killing everyone. And there was no further development. There was, like, the main good guy, his mother, his brother who died, minor spoiler for the 20 minutes of the movie, whatever. And then, like, the girlfriend-wife thing, and like, her dad who was helping the bad guy until he decided not to help the bad guy, and then he was the bad guy's bad guy. I'm sorry, the good guy's bad guy. He was trying to help the good guy. Whatever. See what I mean? It's confusing. But this guy who somehow became a mafia boss and is, like, super badass now and smoking a lot. I get that it's set in like the 50s to the 70s, but like, come on, man, do you need this in every single shot of him? Whatever. But he was just killing people, and then a couple of times it showed him with like his, I don't know, his like henchmen, his lieutenants or something. But they don't have any names. We never saw them do anything in particular. We have no establishment of what they are, other than happen to be the 4 or 5 guys that he would bring with him when he's going and killing a bunch of people. And like I said, the fight scenes were just garbage. They didn't have any threat to them. They didn't have any feel to them. And so much of this movie is just like zoom in shots of people's faces, and then like just there's no midpoint. There's no midpoint that gave you a good sense of things. And there was a bunch of overhead angles, CGI, that was just terrible. And yeah, there was nothing good about this movie. The pacing was stupid. The ending, it just cut off, and like some random dude comes up and like, spoiler alert for the very end, I guess, but so there's a big ass army who's faced off against the now mafia boss, and they're like, they got like cannons and shit, and they're like, oh, we're gonna take you out. And so then some random guy comes up around them with like a trail of trucks that the army just is like, okay, sure. And so they come up, and they're a bunch of like, I don't know, missile trucks, and he like parks them between mafia guy and this guy, and then he's like, I'm a usurper, and then he fires in both directions, and then it cuts to like a freeze frame of him like smoking while all of his troops are fired, you know, where he's right in between everybody when like any one of these minions could have just fired at him, but sure, whatever. And then it's Kabzaa 2, and then it's credits. So I guess they think they're gonna get a second one to follow whoever the fuck this guy is. Like, it seems like this was trying to be based on a true story. I have no idea, because I just don't, and I didn't care about anything in this, and it was just garbage. It was such a waste of time. Don't see this movie. Maybe it's a cultural thing. Maybe Indians in India will fucking love the hell out of this, but like, it didn't seem to be a good movie to me at all. Definitely skip. 2 thumbs down. Very much down. Alright, that's all I have for this one. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you at the next one. Bye.